Buffs Nation, welcome back to another episode of Common Sense Buffs. It's been a long time. Sorry, shouldn't have left you without some dope content to react to. I'm back on the live stream. No notes, strictly on the freestyle, fresh out the barber chair. Still got the line on my forehead. Hey, whatever it takes to get it done, we're going to get it done. Just wanted to hop here on live and continue the streak of creating content week over week about the Colorado Buffaloes program. If this is your first time here, Common Sense Buffs is all about the Colorado Buffaloes football program in the Coach Prime era, and I am your host. All right, today we're going to be reacting to the fact that the Colorado Buffaloes are now 7-2 after beating Big 12 rival at this point, even though it's the first year that they're in the Big 12, Texas Tech, who were coming off a big win against Iowa State during the Colorado bye week that put the Buffs in a great position to go to the Big 12 championship. And if they could beat BYU, who is currently number one, they will be able to go to the college playoffs. Now, that is just 2 years removed from Coach Prime taking over. I don't know if you remember or not, or how long you've been following this story of Colorado, but Coach Prime took over back in 2023 after an abysmal 1-11 season for the Colorado Buffaloes. And then they were in the Pac-12 when Prime took over in 2023. The season got off to a great start. The Buffs started off red hot and went 3-0, lost to Oregon, and the wheels kind of fell off. I think they won one more game to win 4, and then they lost 6 straight, I believe, or 7 straight to finish off the season at 4-8. And so there were a lot of doubters out there about the Colorado Buffaloes and what they were going to be able to do in 2024. But with each week, we see fewer and fewer doubters. Some might call them haters. I like to call them doubters. You know what I mean? Of course, there's some haters out there, people who just don't like Prime, or they don't like Shador, or they don't like Travis. They don't like the hype. There's something about the team they don't like. They can't quite put their finger on why. Some might come out and say, well, Prime is too flashy. Prime is too braggadocious. Prime is too abrasive with the media. Why is Prime getting all this attention? There are many teams who are undefeated right now that deserve it. For example, the Indianas of the world, who are having an outstanding season as well. But hey, the college football world revolves around Boulder, Colorado. Nothing you can do about it. That is indeed the Prime effect. So last week, going into that game, the Texas Tech Raiders were red hot. I think they came into that game 6-3. The Buffs came into the game 6-2. So it was a big game. It was a defining game, and the Buffs had a must-win situation on the road in Lubbock, Texas. Now, I'd never watched a Texas Tech game before. And prior to the game, they talked about the fact that they throw tortillas on the field. So I guess they cut holes in them to make them fly, and they throw them from the stands. Some of them end up on the field. A lot of them end up on the opposing team sideline. And that became an issue later on in the game, and we'll talk about that. So it was a hostile environment, very raucous crowd. There was a lot of jaw-jacking by the crowd. The crowd was there I think based on a press interview that I saw, a press conference with Cameron Silman-Craig. He said that the crowd wasn't really into the football game. They were just really there just to trash talk the Buffaloes. And he didn't quite understand why. He thought it was weird. But I think some of that weirdness may have contributed to the fact that at the very outset, the Buffs did not play well. They came out in the first quarter and were down 13 just right out of the gate. One of the things about the Colorado Buffaloes, though, with that offense, if the offense has a slow start or the defense has a slow start, they're starting to play complementary football. And after 13 points, didn't really feel like the Buffs were ever out of that game. We know they can score fast and they can score in bunches, and that they did. So to help me kind of with my commentary on that game, I'm going to look at the box score here. So I have the box score pulled up. For all of you joining me, go ahead and hit that like so like-minded people can see this stream and that you can be part of that Common Sense Buffs family. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and hit it and become part of our crew. All right, so first up, final score of the game against Texas Tech was 41 Colorado, 27 Texas Tech. You wouldn't imagine that would be the score at the end of the game, based on what I just said, the fact that the Colorado Buffaloes got off to a slow start. So I want to talk first about how the scoring happened. So the final score was 41-27, but in the first quarter, Texas Tech put up 13 points. They had a touchdown and 2 field goals. That was partly due to poor special teams play. I know Prime says this, and early in the season, the special teams issues were really around kicking, right? Being able to convert field goals. At the time, they had Jace Feely, so they had a higher percentage of kickoffs that ended up in the end zone and weren't returned. What has improved in the special teams is that the kicking game, and at least in field goals with Mata, has gotten way better. Right? I think he's on a streak right now where he hasn't missed. He might be a 9 for 9 or something like that at this point in the season. And so kicking with Mata, he's performing well. He's actually helped clinch or put games out of reach late in the game multiple times this season. And I love to see it. But the punt game was not there. Mark Vassett, a guy who is an absolute machine of pinning opposing teams within their own 20, oftentimes within their own 10, and just as often within their own 5, was not consistent at all. And we're going to see that in the stats. So when you come out playing like that on offense, which got off to a slow start, and on special teams, it positioned Texas Tech with short fields where they could go down and score. And of course, they had the crowd on their side. So the first 15 plays they executed well until the Buffs settled in on defense. And the story of this game is really about Colorado's defense and how they have improved in all phases on that defense. I'm going to talk about that when I get into the statistics. So Texas Tech got off to a 13-point lead. It was 13-0 at the end of the first quarter. And then Colorado got their act together. In the second quarter, Colorado scored 10. So going into halftime, the game was 13-10. And what Prime said during his halftime kind of speech, and there was a lot of coaching. If you're not following Well Off Media, if you're not following Reach the People, if you're not following the pregame show, you're cheating yourself. I think many of us who are Colorado Buffaloes fans not only watch the game and watch kind of the big channels, the ESPNs, the Fox of the world to know what's going on with the Colorado football team. We also watch these channels, these vlog channels, like Well Off and Reach the People, to find out what happens behind the scenes. And I was watching the pregame show, and they were showing during halftime, they're down 13-10 on the road in a must-win game, and the coaching was outstanding. Really talking to them about what it was going to take to win this game. And the big thing that really came out was physicality. This team is getting more and more physical as the season wears on, and that's because they have depth at multiple positions. And that's what I really love to see in that game. So they came out. It was 13-10 at halftime. They put up 21 points in the third quarter. And that's what I love about this offense. They can put up points in bunches. And one of the wrinkles that I saw this week that I really liked was they must have seen something on film about Texas Tech's secondary or the way they were playing them in the first half, because they unleashed, both in the second quarter and the third quarter, a tsunami of wide receiver screens. Oftentimes we've seen Shador throw medium to deep passes to his wide receivers. Not a lot of very shallow crossing routes or things like that. They're mainly kind of a medium range to long range passing team. It was great to see them get the ball in the hands of their playmakers behind the line of scrimmage using wide receiver screens, and how good the blocking was to spring those screens for multiple first downs and touchdowns, one to LaJohntay Wester and another one to Travis Hunter. And Shepard, for a big wide receiver, really excelled in this screen-heavy passing game and had multiple plays where he got first down conversions on the screenplay. You really don't see that a lot from big wide receivers. And Jimmy Horn was out in this game too. I don't know exactly what happened. If you guys happen to know, please let me know in the chat what happened with Jimmy. But he didn't play this game. And you would imagine like screenplays to him and Wester, or maybe even Travis Hunter, would have been their go-to wide receivers to play the screen. But anyway, in the third quarter, they put up 21 points, held the Raiders to 7. So at that point, it was 31-20 at the end of the third quarter. Now, I thought they should have won the game there. They should have tightened up, but they had a fall off on the offensive side of the ball again, which was quite surprising. I think they had 3 drives where they were 3 and out, and they gave Texas Tech too many opportunities to come back in this game. Texas Tech scored and it was like 31-27 or something like that. And they needed Texas Tech had an opportunity for a final drive in the fourth quarter. Big play by Arden Walker to end the game where it was a strip sack, ruled a fumble. Shiloh recovered it and high stepped when he scored in the end zone. So that's how we got to the score of 41-27. But I want to dig into the stats a little bit, and that's going to inform my commentary. And then I'm going to talk about some of the success that Colorado is having on the recruiting trail. All right, so not Shedeur Sanders' best day, but what I like about the progression of this team is that Shedeur doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't have to have like he had against TCU last year, 500 yards passing and like 4 passing touchdowns. They're able to beat you whether or not Shedeur is having a 300-yard plus game, 3-touchdown game or not. And in this game, he did not have over 300 yards. He was 30 for 43, which is uncharacteristically low for him. He really has a higher completion percentage, but this is excellent, right? But that's just the Shedeur Sanders standard. A lot of QBs would take 34, 43. He had 291 yards. He was averaging 6.8 yards per completion. And that's what I mean by this offense. You usually see that number higher because he's targeting the middle of the field, right about, a first down on each play, and maybe even the deep ball to some of his wide receivers who can get open downfield. So they really utilized the short game. And I was wrong about his touchdowns. He did throw for 3 touchdowns in this game. So excellent game by Shedeur. But what I love, and one of the things that a lot of fans, when people criticize you and you show improvement, they don't come back and correct or acknowledge the fact that you've shown improvement. And I think one of the things that I had early complaints about, and a lot of people had early complaints about with Shedeur, was holding on to the ball too long. He got the ball out quick. He's getting the ball out quicker. And he's also making good decisions about when to just take off and run. And when we get to the rushing game, we're going to talk a little bit about how effective he was in the run game, because Colorado needs a run game to win games. One of the things that I noticed in the first quarter was that an reliance on that medium range passing game at the sacrifice of the run game. But the run game continues to play a very important role in Colorado's success. So looking at the run game, Isaiah Augustov, which is my favorite running back on the team, he had 10 carries for 32 yards. Now, for any team, that's horrible. For Colorado, that's efficient. And what I like about him is that he's a downhill runner. He very rarely loses yards. He very rarely goes down on first contact. He's my guy, man. I think he has a bright future in Colorado. I think as they continue to lean into the run game, as the O-line continues to have just a joy and the physicality that you need to run the ball, we're going to continue to see numbers from him. I know his high on the season is like 90 yards. So he has the capability of rushing for a lot of yards. It just depends on what the game plan is for the opponent that they're playing against. Dallin Hayden continues to get his reps. He had 6 carries for 17 yards. And Shedeur Sanders, speaking of running the ball, he had 9 carries, so he was willing to take off when he needed to for 16 yards and a touchdown. And that's one of the things I don't think people give Shedeur credit for. In the last couple of games, he's had rushing touchdowns. He's able to get down there in the red zone, use RPO, right, to be able to afford himself the ability to run by reading the defensive end and pulling the ball and running when he has to. So total for rushing, and they definitely need a total or rush total better than this as they play better teams or as they make this championship run. They had 27 total carries for 60 yards. I mean, you're not going to win very many games against tough opponents with a run game that isn't at least getting 100 yards or more and doing it situationally smart and consistently. So I'd love to see that run game kind of reemerge for Colorado. But all in all, the run game was efficient. Now, let's switch over to Colorado receiving. One thing we know about Colorado is they got weapons. There's a lot of guys out there who could make plays. And so with Colorado, really the question that defensive coordinators have to ask themselves whenever they play this team is, who are we going to double? How are we going to cover all these weapons? Because all of these guys can hurt you on any given Saturday. So Travis Hunter led the way with 9 receptions for 99 yards. Oh, man, 1 off from 100. That's worse than getting 95, right? 99 is so close. He was averaging 11 yards per catch, and he had 1 touchdown with a long of 24. I think the long of 24 is where he sprang a screen, a wide receiver screen, to the outside for a touchdown. So, again, that's a touchdown on the screen. LaJohntay Wester came in second in terms of receiving yards. He had 6 receptions for 82 yards, averaging 13.7 yards per catch and a touchdown. He also scored on a screen. And this is credit to Jason Phillips, the wide receiver coach, who really has those wide receivers blocking and being physical in the run game. I love to see it. Will Shepherd, a guy who is emerging as Mr. Consistent after some uncharacteristic drops early in the season, came in with 8 catches, 79 yards, 9.5 yards per catch, and a touchdown. He had a spectacular one-hand catch, second one of the season. And it looks like when they get down in the red zone and they need to throw a jump ball, Shador is looking for Will Shepherd, as he should. That's his big body at 6'3". All right, Savell Smalls continues to be productive at the tight end position. Even though Colorado doesn't utilize tight ends very much in the pass game, tight ends like Small are used mostly in the run game. And Draylon Miller, he continues to just be productive, man. He's out there making plays. Shador isn't really looking at the number on the guy. And I know I'm contradicting myself by saying that in the red zone, he's going to look for Will Shepherd on the jump ball, but that's a very, very specific situation. You got to go to your big guy when you're throwing a jump ball in the red zone. But in terms of Draylon Miller, he continues every week to get a touch at least. He's a very dangerous guy that all offenses have to keep their eye on. Like I said, there's so many weapons. So if you're in a 5 wide receiver set with Travis Hunter, Wester, Shepherd, and Miller, who would be my 5th wide receiver in this situation? I know they're a little bit depleted with some injuries right now. Or Jimmy Hunter, if he was healthy, and you go 5 wide. I mean, who are you really going to cover? If you got Draylon Miller out there, he's going to get some opportunities to get the ball. Before Omarion Miller got hurt, when they're in 5 wide receiver set, you really have a problem with who you're going to cover. Who's the linebacker going to cover? Right? If you know, and then the potential to be able to run the ball and have that as a real threat. So you can't go all DBs against that front. You still have to have your run stoppers in there. So I love that and the diversity that it creates in play calling for Pat Shurmur. In terms of fumbles, it looks like Colorado had 1 fumble, but it was recovered. I think let's see. Yeah, the team had 1 fumble and they had 2 fumble recoveries. 1 fumble, I believe, was created by BJ Green, I think, and Cameron Silman Craig recovered it. And then another was created by Arden Walker, and Shiloh Sanders created it. So not only is the defense playing better, the defense is turnover hungry. They're causing offenses to go, not necessarily 3 and out. There were multiple situations where they could have had them at 3 and out, but they broke a couple of big plays, which continues to be an issue for this defense. I think they play very, very well. They play outstanding football, and then they take their foot slightly off the gas and they allow the offense to create a big play. I think they're going to continue to tighten that up as we go. And I see a future where we're going to see consistently in multiple places within the game where the Colorado Buffaloes are getting 3 and out and getting stops on 4th down. But when we switch over to the defense, I'm really going to dig into it and give them their flowers. All right. So I think that's all I wanted to cover from the offensive standpoint. If you guys are out there watching this live, go ahead and hit me in the chat. Is this on point? Is this off point? What are your thoughts about the win against Texas Tech? So like the thumbnail says, Defense wins championships. But if you're at this point in the video, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share, and let's keep growing this community. All right. So, what I love about Colorado and what I truly believe this team is all about is defense. And that's credit to Rob Livingston. That's credit to Coach Mathis. It's credit to Andre Hart, Brian Hilo, and of course, D. Lou, Sapp, and Dancy. And it all starts up front with that defensive line. I think a defensive star was born during this game, a guy who was with the team in 2023 and has just been getting better in 2024. And he finally got his chance to start since Shane Cokes was out during this game, and he really put on a show. I'm talking about none other than Amari McNeil. High praise for him during spring camp, fall camp, and he's showing it on the field. And I got to say this to the strength and conditioning coaches in Colorado. This team never looks tired. And I don't know if it's the altitude in Colorado that's giving them an unfair advantage. But I got to give credit where credit is due, which is strength and conditioning. These guys always look good. Fourth quarter, overtime, they look like they could run for days. They're fresh and mentally fresh as if the game is just starting. So kudos to that training staff. All right, let's talk about this defense. When the offense was down, when things weren't looking good in that first quarter, it was the defense, right, on multiple occasions that made the stops that were necessary to keep Colorado in the game. So leaders, let's talk about leaders. In terms of tackles, we had Levanta Bentley, who continues to play well in combination with Nakai Hill-Green holding down that linebacker spot. I think Colorado has a great linebacker duo in those two. I definitely think Nakai Hill-Green is going to play at the next level. And if Bentley stays consistent, he's going to play at the next level as well. They're both going to get a shot to play on Sundays because they're playing very well this season. So 10 total tackles for Bentley, 7 total with a half a tackle for loss. Nakai Hill-Green, again, the thumper, 9 total tackles, 6 solo, and a half a tackle for loss. Now, here's the guy who balled out. Now, just think about these statistics from the defensive tackle position. And not only did he have this number of tackles, but these were all big plays. Some of these tackles came on a fourth down stop, some major sacks during this game. He was absolutely outstanding. So Amari McNeil registered 9 total tackles, 2 were solo. He had a 1.5 sacks, and he had 3 tackles for loss. And then the man of the hour, Arden Walker, who made the play at the end of the game, the strip sack, had 7 tackles, 6 total tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss as well. And then where is Keaton Wade? Keaton Wade got every time he gets an opportunity, he continues to capitalize on it. Keaton Wade had 3 tackles, 2 solo, and 2 sacks. So let's look at sack total here. The Buffaloes continue to rush the passer and create opportunities for sacks. It looks like the team had 7 total sacks. So awesome job to this Colorado Buffaloes defense. I think as the D-line goes, as Nakai Hill-Green and as Cameron Silman-Craig goes, so goes this defense. And it's all upside from here. All right, guys, that was my analysis. Oh, quick, on Texas Tech, let's look at their box score. Baron Morton, who's their quarterback, was 24 for 40, 275 yards. He had 6.9 yards per pass, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And that was a great, I forgot to mention, Nakai Hill-Green also had an interception in this game. Amazing play made right at the line of scrimmage in a very crucial time in the game. So big shout out to Nakai Hill-Green. Now, the guy that Colorado really needed to keep the clamps on was Taj Brooks. Definitely going to be playing on Sundays in the NFL. He needed all of 31 carries to gain 137 yards, and he was pretty much shut down for the first 2.5 quarters. He really came on very well in making it very, very hard on opposing offenses to really get going in the passing game. They had 25 receptions for 289 yards. All right. And yeah, Baron Morton had 2 fumbles, both came on strip sacks. So that defensive line is getting after people. All right. Let's go to punts real quick. Colorado punts. Punting. Mark Vassett had 8 punts. They punted the ball 8 times in this game for 308 yards. He was averaging 38 and a half. He had a long of 51, but there were a couple of there that were shanks. But Mata had 2 field goals, a long of 33. He's 2 of 2. He's responsible for 11 points that game. So in a game that was 41-27, Mata had 11 of those points. So it's great to see Colorado kicking game being an important factor in these wins as well. All right. Hey, go ahead and hit that like. Go ahead and hit that subscribe. Hit me up in the chat. Let me know what you think about the stream. Your engagement is much appreciated. Now, what I want to talk about next is recruiting. Colorado is on fire, right? As if this team wasn't being talked about enough in the media. Recruiting is going crazy with 2 big announcements on the recruiting front. First up, JuJu Lewis, the quarterback out of Carrollton, Georgia, class of 2025. He stands at 6 foot, 6 foot, and 185 pounds. So he's a smaller quarterback. I'm looking at both 24/7 Sports and On3. Looking at his player ranking on 24/7 Sports, he's a 4-star, but his composite. So when you average out all the other recruiting tools, he's ranked as a 5-star. He's the 5th best QB in the class, the number 6 player out of Georgia, and he's 31 nationally. He was committed to USC. He is now crystal balled to Colorado at 100% on 24/7 Sports. And On3 has him. He's, of course, committed to the UHC Trojans, but they have him crystal balled to Colorado with an 80% chance that he will be in Boulder. Let's read a little bit about JuJu, as he's called. So this is the scouting report, and he was evaluated back in February of 2024. This is coming from 24/7 Sports. And this scouting report was written by Andrew Ivins. Andrew, salute. All right, a de facto point guard on the gridiron that can distribute the football like few others. Won't blow many away with his build, right? Smaller quarterback, but makes up for his, I don't like this word, subpar measurables with his ability to scan the field and manipulate defenses with his eyes. Compact release allows him to rip tight, accurate spirals to different levels. So that's very important, being able to throw the ball at all levels of the field. He doesn't necessarily have a cannon, but will drop balls over coverage well into the deep third. He has proven to be a crafty mover both in and outside the pocket and will extend plays like a true escape artist. I like that, right? He can move his feet. He has good footwork, and he will get out and run on you. Elected to forego his senior season after reclassifying, but he has already shown that he's well ahead of the curve, posting a 25-3 record in 2 seasons while competing in the Peach State's highest classification. Size might be a sticking point for some. Obviously, it's not a problem for USC. Doesn't appear to be a problem for Colorado. But rare intangibles make him one of the top passers in the 2025 cycle. All right, so that was 24/7 Sports. Big news in Boulder if JuJu decides that he wants to be the heir apparent to Shedeur Sanders. All right, moving over to On3. They have him with a composite ranking of 4 stars. What do you guys think about JuJu being composite ranked as a 5-star on 24/7, but a 4-star on On3? Okay, whatever. To each its own. But I don't know if it's quite a conspiracy theory, but what I have observed is that whenever a 5-star player commits to Colorado or has a high likelihood of going to Colorado, for some reason they lose a star. No big deal. So JuJu Lewis, crystal ball to Colorado. I think that will be huge when that announcement is made. if he does, in fact, commit to Colorado. Apparently, he's going to be in Georgia this weekend. So there's some rumors that he's still trying to make his decision and he wants to exhaust all of his options. Let's look at JuJu Lewis. Let's see what On3 has to say about him. Look at the offers, man. He's committed to USC, but he's been offered by Colorado, Georgia, Alabama, Auburn. I guess they don't care about him being a smaller quarterback. Let's look. Julian Lewis first emerged on the national scene as a middle schooler. So he's been balling since he was in middle school. He landed his first scholarship offer and was invited to play in the Under Armour All-American game as an 8th grader. Incredible. I've had the privilege of coaching Trevor Lawrence. Carrollton High School coach Joey King told ESPN he's in the same category as Trevor. So amazing upside, excellent skill sets that are gonna bode well for him in college. And if all goes like it went for Trevor Lawrence, he could win himself a national championship if he comes to Colorado and then go on to the NFL and have a great early career like Trevor Lawrence is having. So good news for Coach Prime and the Buffaloes. All right, guys, what do you think about the analysis so far? Let me know in the comments. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. The next big name that's being mentioned right now is Carde Smith, offensive tackle out of Williamson High School in Mobile, Alabama, class of 2025, 6'5", 293 pounds. One of the things about these offensive linemen coming out of high school, they're already big, right, as a high school football player. But, man, are they going to put on a lot of weight and a lot of strength when, like I mentioned, that Colorado strength and conditioning team gets a hold of them. So he is on 24/7 as a 3-star. His composite ranking there is 4-star. On 3, he's a 4-star, and for his composite ranking, and on 3 has him as a 4-star. So he's 100% crystal balled right now to Colorado. So that's another big pickup in high school recruiting, improving Colorado's overall high school recruiting ranking. So here's where the scouting report is on Carde Smith. This is from Cooper Pegtanya, national recruiting analyst. Big shout out to Peter. All right, Peter says the estimated at 6'5", 285 pounds. Carde appears to possess growth potential to add an additional 25 pounds to his frame at the collegiate level. That's exactly what I just said, right? These guys come out, they're 280, easily could be over 200 once Chef, what's his name, Solomon, and the strength coaches get a hold of him. Flashes good athleticism at the right tackle position. So Jordan Seaton is already holding down the left tackle spot and having an outstanding freshman campaign. So that right tackle spot, which is in rotation right now, but I think Philip Houston is the primary starter at right tackle. They're looking for that next guy up in prime, and that team, including Phil Loho, will play freshmen. They have a freshman starting left tackle in Jordan Seaton, future early first-round pick on the offensive line. And now they have Cash Cleveland in there getting some real production and is likely to be the starter in this next game. And he's a freshman walk-on, a preferred walk-on, but a walk-on yet the same. So they're recruiting these players out of high school, and they're not telling them they're going to have to sit for 2-3 years. They're saying if you come in and you work hard and you're putting football first, you're going to have a chance to make an impact even as a freshman. All right, so it says flashes good athleticism at the right tackle position where he shows an ability to win consistently. Sounded like Primer, consistently at the point of attack by utilizing his size and frame to overwhelm opposing defenders. Give me 1 second. Let me drink. Appears to exhibit some quick twitch explosiveness off the line of scrimmage while displaying some natural power and play strength to drive defenders off the ball consistently. All right, so all of those things are what you are looking for in your offensive lineman. It says good player that possesses very little verified athletic context, but size and above average athleticism suggests he can grow into a multi-year starter at the right tackle position at a Power 4 program. So good news for Colorado there if he commits and he comes to Boulder. Looking at on three, he's committed to USC right now. They have him six. Oh, something must have changed. Didn't they have him? Oh, no. That was Julian Lewis. Julian Lewis is 80% to Colorado. Carde Smith right now on three is 64.6% to Colorado. Currently committed to USC. But he's been offered by Colorado, Auburn, Florida State, Mississippi State. Not bad company to be in for recruiting a highly ranked high school player. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to cover tonight. I'm thanking you for joining me tonight. Please go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, maybe hit me up in the comments if you're rewatching this. I'm going to be back with more content. Of course, a big game against Utah this weekend. I might do a preview at some point soon. But I hope you guys are succeeding, man. Like Prime says to his players all the time, I hope you're succeeding not just on the football field, but in life. And one of the reasons why I follow the Colorado football team is because Coach Prime is not just a coach on the field. I feel like he's my coach in life. And a lot of the things that I'm doing, it's not just about making a YouTube channel about Colorado outside of the internet, right? In my real life, I'm grinding every day to get better and be more successful. And I hope you're doing the same. So I'm prayerfully asking that you stay in good health and that you be as successful as possible. Okay. Until next time, peace.